Where does life end? For all of human history, we have answered this question with our senses. Life is on the surface, in the air, and in the sunlit shallows of the oceans. We have perceived it as a thin, vibrant, and fragile film. A delicate green and blue veneer painted upon a sphere of sterile rock. But this entire perception is fundamentally, spectacularly wrong. The true final frontier, it turns out, is not above our heads in the stars. It is beneath our feet. We are standing, completely unaware, on an undiscovered continent. A living world. A vast, dark, and unimaginably ancient ecosystem. It exists miles deep within the Earth's own crust, inside the rock itself. This is the Deep Biosphere. It is a discovery that forces us to redefine the very concept of a habitat and asks a profound question. What if the bulk of Earth's life isn't even on Earth's surface? This is not a theoretical model or a work of science fiction. It is the validated, staggering reality from the frontiers of planetary science. A world that is about to change everything we thought we knew about the boundaries of life. Now, let's dive into the data and uncover the reality hidden in the deep. Our entire biology is a solar religion. We have been taught, and rightly so, that we are children of the sun. The foundational equation of life on Earth is photosynthesis. Energy from our star is captured by plants, which are eaten by herbivores, which are eaten by carnivores. This single, elegant process fuels the vast, visible biosphere. It is the engine of the rainforests, the savannas, and the bustling, sunlit zones of the ocean. This sunlight paradigm was more than a theory. It was a biological law. It dictated where we looked for life and where we confidently declared life could not be. The rule was simple. No sunlight, no energy. No energy, no life. And for this reason, the deep ocean was, for centuries, considered a biological wasteland. It was too dark, too cold, and the pressure was too extreme. Any life that was found there was seen as part of a scavenger economy. It was a world that survived on the marine snow, the decaying crumbs falling from the sunlit feast above. Even in the crushing dark, life was still tethered to the sun. It was an echo, not an origin. Then in 1977, we found the vents. In the pitch-black abyss, thousands of meters down, we found oases. Lush, dense and thriving communities of giant tube worms and ghostly crabs. They were clustered around hydrothermal vents, superheating water that was belching from the planet's interior. And they had absolutely no connection to the sun. It was the first time we witnessed an ecosystem that was not solar-powered, but geo-powered. This was the discovery of chemosynthesis. Microbes were harnessing chemical energy, specifically hydrogen sulfide, gushing from the Earth. These microbes formed the base of an entirely new food web, just as plants do on the surface. It was the first great crack in the sunlight paradigm. But this discovery, as revolutionary as it was still on the surface of the seafloor. It was a fascinating anomaly. It did not prepare us for what would come next. Scientists in programs like the Deep Carbon Observatory began to ask a far more radical question. What if the vents aren't the source? What if they are just the exhaust pipe for a living, breathing world hidden even deeper below? So, we began to drill. This wasn't a search for oil or minerals. It was a search for us. Missions like the International Ocean Discovery Program, or IODP, sent specialized ships to the deepest parts of the ocean. They didn't just sample the water. They didn't just scrape the seafloor. They drilled for miles, straight down into the oceanic crust. They punched through layer after layer of sediment, compacted over millennia. Then they penetrated the hard volcanic basalt, the very bedrock of the planet. The core samples they retrieved were, at first glance, the most boring things imaginable. They were just cylinders of dark, wet rock. To the naked eye, they were completely sterile, as lifeless as a meteorite. But when we put this rock under the microscope, when we sequenced the genetic material locked inside those mineral grains, the rock was alive. It was and is teeming with life. We are not talking about fossils. We are talking about living, metabolizing, and reproducing organisms. A vast hidden kingdom of bacteria, archaea, and fungi. They were not on the rock, they were in the rock. They were found in microscopic water-filled fractures and pores, trapped in a tomb of their own making. These microbes were existing in pressures so high they should, by our understanding, crush organic molecules. They were in temperatures that ranged from near boiling to below freezing. And they were, without question, in total, permanent, and absolute darkness. This discovery presented the single most challenging question in modern biology. In a sealed tomb of solid rock, miles from the sun, what could they possibly eat? The answer shattered the final remnants of the sunlight paradigm. It forced us to find a new vocabulary for life. First, we identified the lithoautotrophs. The word means rock eater. And that is precisely what they do. These organisms perform a kind of slow-motion chemical warfare on their prison. They harvest energy not from sunlight, but from the inorganic minerals in the basalt itself. When we analyze the rock, we see them catalyzing reactions, prying electrons from iron, manganese, and sulfur atoms. It is a brutal, inefficient, and painfully slow way to make a living. The energy they gain from one of these reactions is a microscopic fraction of what a plant gains from a single photon. But it is enough. It is enough to survive. But this wasn't even the strangest part. The rock eaters were only part of the story. In the deepest, most isolated samples, we found something else. A food web based on an energy source that is pure science fiction. These microbes are eating radiation. It's a process called radiolysis. As these elements naturally decay, a process that has been happening since the Earth was formed, they release radiation. This radiation, in the form of alpha particles, strikes the tiny molecules of water, $H2O, trapped in the rock. It literally splits the water apart. It breaks the H2O into its components, primarily molecular hydrogen H and reactive oxidants. This hydrogen is, for a microbe, a feast. It is a rich, high-energy fuel source. The planet's own background radiation is constantly generating a supply of fresh food deep within the crust, completely independent of the sun. This is the engine of the Deep Biosphere. The rock itself is the battery. But this energy source is the slowest, most subtle trickle imaginable. And this faint, slow energy creates a faint, slow kind of life. This is a world without time. When we call these microbes zombies, it is not for sensationalism. It is because their metabolism is so slow, it borders on the geological. Life on the surface operates on a clock of seconds, minutes, and days. These organisms operate on a clock of millennia. A surface bacterium might divide in 20 minutes. A deep biosphere microbe may divide once every 1,000 years. We have found organisms in suspended animation. Their entire existence is dedicated to one thing: persistence. They are not competing. They are not rapidly evolving. They are simply waiting. They are repairing their own DNA, molecule by molecule, just fast enough to counteract decay. They are sipping an energy source so sparse it's almost a rounding error. Some of the organisms we drill up may be direct, unchanged descendants of microbes that were sealed in that rock millions of years ago. They are, in essence, living fossils, blurring the very line between what it means to be alive and what it means to be a geological process. This isn't a niche ecosystem. This is the hidden, slow burn mechanism that defines our planet. Life, it turns out, does not require the gentle, nurturing light of a star. It only requires a wet rock, a few minerals, and time. In this dark, timeless, and alien world, we found the new, true baseline for life itself. So, this slow, strange life exists. It persists in a timeless, radioactive, rock-bound world. But the next question we had to ask was the one that truly recalibrated our planet. Is it a curiosity, or is it a continent? Just how much of this life is there? For a decade, a global collaboration of over 1,000 scientists worked on this problem. This was the Deep Carbon Observatory, or DCO. Their mission was to conduct a planetary census, to sample the deep crust from hundreds of sites, both on land and beneath the sea. They took the drill cores, painstakingly counted the microbes per cubic centimeter, and then they did the math. They extrapolated their findings to calculate the total size of this hidden biosphere. The numbers they returned are not easy to comprehend. They challenge our sense of scale. This is the hidden majority. When the DCO published its final report, the figures were staggering. First, the total number of cells. They estimated that the deep biosphere contains between 70 and 90% of all bacteria and archaea on Earth. Let's restate that. The majority of Earth's single-celled life is not in the oceans, not in the soil, not on our skin, but inside the rock. But the most profound metric was not the number of cells. It was their collective weight. The DCO estimates the deep biosphere contains between 15 and 23 billion tons of carbon. That is a number so large it sounds meaningless. So let's put it in context. This is a biomass that is hundreds of times greater than the carbon mass of all 8 billion humans on the planet combined. In fact, this hidden zombie world of rock eaters is thought to outweigh all other animals on Earth's surface. All the insects, all the fish, all the birds, all the whales, and all of us. We are not the dominant form of life on this planet. We are not even close. We are a thin, ephemeral film of fast-moving, sun-powered life. We are the anomaly. The true, deep, and steady-state life of Earth is this vast, slow kingdom beneath our feet. This is the Earth's shadow biosphere, a second, separate evolutionary path that has been coexisting with us in silence and darkness for eons. And it is genetically bizarre. When we sequence the DNA from these deep microbes, much of it is completely alien. It doesn't fit into any known branch of the tree of life. It is microbial dark matter, life, but not as we know it. This implies that life in the crust may have had a separate, or at least a deeply isolated, evolutionary history spanning geological time. It is not just a new kingdom. It is, for all intents and purposes, a new world. And it just so happens to be inside our own. This planetary-scale discovery changes, well, everything. It is the elixir from our journey into the deep. The deep biosphere is the ultimate antidote to the idea that life is fragile, special, and rare. It suggests the very opposite. It tells us that life is a tenacious, fundamental, and predictable property of a planet. It is a shift in perspective as profound as the Copernican revolution. We are not the center of the solar system, and the surface is not the center of life. For decades, our search for life beyond Earth has been a search for our world. We have been looking for planets with blue oceans, warm sunlight, and gentle atmospheres. A Goldilocks zone based on surface liquid water. But this discovery has given us a new model, The terrestrial deep sky. What if the most common habitat for life in the universe is not on the surface? What if it is inside? If life can thrive by eating rock and radiation miles within Earth's crust, then life can exist almost anywhere. It could be in the deep rocky mantle of Mars. It could be in the dark, interior ocean of Europa, its energy provided by radiolysis and tidal friction. It could be on billions of rogue planets, dark and starless, but geologically active and alive from within. The Deep Biosphere is our local proof that a planet does not need a sun to create a living world. We began this journey by looking down into a world we thought was sterile rock. We return with an entirely new concept of home. The Earth is not a rock with a thin film of light. The Earth is a living planet, from its molten core to its sunlit skin. And we, the surface dwellers, are just one small part of a story that is vastly deeper, darker, and more magnificent than we ever dared to imagine.